The Galactic Academy of Valoris had stood for 6,000 years. Its obsidian towers pierced 3 moons simultaneously on clear nights, and its lecture halls had witnessed the brightest minds of 47 species argue over the fundamental laws of the universe. Wars had been theorized here. Peace treaties had been signed here. Legends had been born here. No human had ever enrolled here before Arya. She arrived on the first morning of the autumn rotation with a second-hand datapad, a thermos of black coffee, and absolutely zero apologies for existing. The intake officer, a tall, gray-skinned Valori with 4 arms and the kind of condescension that only comes with institutional authority, had stared at her for 11 full seconds before processing her registration chip. Death World Origin, he had noted aloud, as if reading a warning label. Earth, Arya had replied, smiling. But yes. The other students had mostly ignored her. That was fine. Arya had grown up in a city where the subway rats were the size of cats, where the summers now hit 52 degrees Celsius, and where her school building had been held together by grant money and collective stubbornness. She had learned very early that invisibility was sometimes a gift. Kale was not fine with ignoring her. Kale was a Dravri, lean, silver-scaled, with bioluminescent streaks along his neck that pulsed whenever he was feeling superior, which was always. He was the top-ranked student in advanced xenophysics and had made sure every new student knew this within 30 minutes of meeting them. His species lived to an average of 300 standard years. He had been studying physics since he was 12. He had published 2 papers already. He was, by any measurable academic standard, exceptional. He was also, Arya quickly determined, deeply threatened by her. It started small. A comment in the orientation seminar, humans only qualified for academy entry this cycle, yes? Quite the recent development. A raised brow when she answered a question correctly in gravitational theory. A whispered aside to his Dravri friend Sereth during their first laboratory session, something about death world instinct versus actual intellect. Arya heard all of it. She logged all of it. She said nothing. She was used to being underestimated. It was practically a human tradition. The confrontation arrived 3 weeks into the rotation, during the open symposium in the Grand Hall, a weekly event where students could challenge each other to public academic debate on any topic registered with the moderator. It was meant to foster competitive intellectual growth. Mostly it was used to humiliate rivals in front of an audience. Kale had filed the challenge under her student ID before dawn. Topic: Limits of biological adaptability in Death World species, a critical assessment. Arya read the notification over her morning coffee and felt something warm settle in her chest. Not anger. Not quite. Something older. Something that humans had been carrying for a long time, the quiet, iron certainty of someone who has been told they have limits and has long since stopped believing it. She filed her acceptance within the minute. The Grand Hall held 300 students on a normal day. By the time the symposium began, there were over 500 present. Word had spread. Most came expecting to watch a spectacle, the silver prodigy dismantling the human novelty in front of the whole academy. Kale opened with precision. He cited 17 studies across 8 species regarding the physiological ceiling of organisms from high gravity, high radiation, high pathogen environments. He argued elegantly that what humans called adaptation was merely reactive survival, the biological equivalent of scar tissue. Impressive to observe. Irrelevant to intellectual development. He used long words. He used charts. His neck streaks glowed steady gold. The audience murmured approvingly. Then Arya stood up. She didn't bring charts. Everything Kale just described, she began, her voice calm and even, is accurate. And also completely beside the point. A pause. She let it breathe. He's talking about what our bodies do. I want to talk about what we decided to do. She pulled up a single image on the shared display, not a graph, not a diagram. A photograph. Old. Grainy. A human being in a suit, standing on the surface of a barren gray world with no atmosphere. This was taken in Earth year 1969. We had been attempting powered flight for 66 years at that point. We did not yet have digital computing as Valoris defines it. We had no faster-than-light communication. We had not yet discovered that other species existed. We had, in fact, just finished a global war that killed approximately 70 million of us. She let that number sit in the air. And we went to our moon anyway. Silence. Cale's research mentions biological adaptability. What it does not mention, what almost no xenobiological study of humans mentions, because it doesn't fit cleanly into a category, is spite. She said the word simply, like it was a scientific term. Humans do not adapt because our environment demands it. We adapt because something told us we couldn't, and we found that unacceptable. She advanced to the next image. A mountain. A human being near the top of it, oxygen mask on, body at the absolute limit of what blood and bone could sustain. This is the summit of our highest peak. Oxygen levels there will cause most species to lose consciousness in under 4 minutes. Humans go there recreationally. We have died trying. We keep going. She glanced at Cale. Not because we're well suited to it. Because someone said it was impossible. Cale's neck streaks flickered. You cited adaptability ceilings, Arya continued. I'd like to offer a counter dataset. She pulled up her own research, 3 weeks of work, compiled in the hours between classes and meals and the 2 hours of sleep she was averaging. Studies on human cognitive performance under extreme duress. Historical records of innovation during crisis. The documented psychological phenomenon of humans performing better under conditions that should, statistically, break them. You frame death world biology as a disadvantage in intellectual environments, she said. But our nervous systems were built in a place that was actively trying to kill us at every stage of our evolutionary history. Predators above. Microbes below. Starvation, drought, each other. Every cognitive advantage we have was forged under pressure that would be classified as unsurvivable by 31 of the 47 species in this academy. She scrolled through the data. And yet here I am. On your moon. In your school. Answering a challenge filed before sunrise by someone who, I note, has never had to survive anything harder than a difficult exam. The hall had gone very quiet. Cale opened his mouth. Arya wasn't done. I don't say this to be cruel, she said, and she meant it. I say it because the framing of your entire argument, that humans are an interesting anomaly, a biological curiosity, a species that got lucky, is not just wrong. It's a failure of scientific imagination. You looked at something that doesn't fit your model and concluded the thing was flawed. A better scientist would have questioned the model. She pulled up one last display. Her own academic record. 3 weeks. Every test, every assignment, every practical assessment. Perfect scores. All of them. Biological adaptability ceiling, she said quietly. I'll let the data speak. She sat down. The silence lasted 4 full seconds, which in a hall of 500 academics was essentially an eternity. Then someone started clapping. Then someone else. By the time the moderator called the session to a close, the applause was loud enough to feel in the chest. Cale did not clap. His neck streaks had gone dim, not dark, but a pale, subdued silver that Arya had learned, in the past 3 weeks, was the Dravery equivalent of a blush. He gathered his research and left before the crowd dispersed. Sereth, his friend, caught Arya's eye on the way out and gave her a small, reluctant nod. She returned it. Afterward, in the corridor outside the hall, a young Valori student, first year, nervous, barely 5 feet tall, approached her. How did you know you could win? The student asked. Arya considered the question seriously. I didn't, she said. But I've been told I couldn't do things my whole life. By people. By circumstances. By the planet I was born on. She picked up her thermos and her second-hand datapad. You stop waiting to be sure. You just go. She walked toward the library, where she had 4 hours of coursework waiting and a second cup of coffee going cold. Behind her, the grand hall of Valoris echoed with the sound of 500 voices, all of them talking about the human. Some species survive because they are strong. Some species survive because they are clever. Humans survive because they decided to. The universe, it turned out, had not been consulted on the matter.